Hey guys, I am starting another reading vlog, I guess. Guess this is the first time that I'm talking to you guys this week. But so it is Thursday evening, and I am currently on my Oathbringer reread. And I must say that I'm starting to get a little bit of anxiety about it because I am getting a little bit slumpy with it, Because I started today 100 pages short of where I wanted to be yesterday. And at this point I've only read 20 pages today, so I'm running even further behind. That's basically the story of this week. Every single day this week I've gotten further and further behind on what my goal was. And I should just really embrace it and realize that I need to take a little bit of a break at this point from it, because if I just gonna keep pushing myself through it, it'll probably just get worse and worse. So I am a little bit anxious about that because I was planning to finish it on Sunday, so on the 15th. So I do definitely still have a cushion there because in principle I could just wait until Rhythm of War is here and not read the novella in between there. I'm pretty sure you can skip the novella, that you don't need to read it before you dive into Rhythm of War. But still, ideally I would read it before that, but yeah. We'll just see what happens there. And in any case, I still, if I finish it on the 17th, for example, I still have a few days there to read that novella, hopefully, because I'm hoping for my book to arrive on the 19th or on the 20th. I think it's more reasonable to say the 20th, but I hope the 19th because the 20th is the start of my holidays. So if it arrives then on the 19th, I can immediately start it that evening already. But so yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. So I'm getting anxious about a book release, getting anxious about not finishing this book on time. So I caved. Yesterday I bought the new expansion pack for The Sims, so I also started playing it, of course, but I feel like I've been quite good about it, and I've also been productive while playing it because I actually finished the book yesterday. So I finished Hard Times by Charles Dickens. So this is actually a reread for me, so I read this at university. It's basically the first Dickens that I read, and I don't think I had a great experience with it because I gave it 3 stars when I first read it. But still, I did read more Dickens afterwards, so I read some for my class on the description of cities, for example. So then I read Great Expectations and Oliver Twist, I think, and that's when I fell in love with Charles Dickens. But rereading it now, it's actually super good Dickens. It is basically one of the later books that he actually wrote, or maybe even the last book that he wrote, and you can already tell that it isn't as chunky as a lot of his books are, and I think it's just a perfect wrap up of his style, but then combined with a sort of more congested story, because a lot of times these stories seem to become kind of circular, and so we go back and forth to good times, bad times, hardships, and things just keep on rolling in the same way. Whereas here we have actually a very small plot in a sense, but that works very well for his writing style, and I just thought it was kind of breath of fresh air compared to the last few years. I've been starting to feel like I was getting in a little bit of a rut with Charles Dickens because a lot of the books seem to be more or less the same, they seem to have these sort of self-same characters in every one of these books. Stories felt very similar in a way as well, and so I'm very happy that I reread this one at this point because it definitely made me excited about diving into more of his works again, and maybe even retrying some of his other books that I read. For example, I would really like to reread Great Expectations because I think Great Expectations was also quite short and it was also a little bit different than some of the Dickens that I've read in the past few years. But so this story is about, basically at the beginning of this book we are introduced to Thomas Gradgrind, and he has a sort of school of thought in which he's trying to eliminate all sentiment, all emotion, all fancy, and facts, nothing but facts are what counts. And so and the vast majority of this story we're actually going to be exploring the effects that that has on two main characters, namely on his daughter and on his son. And in contrast with their education, we're kind of looking at a character who at the beginning of the book is kind of spurned within his school because she doesn't really have many facts to know. She doesn't really have the intelligence that Thomas Gradgrind holds to such high esteem, and she is somebody of the lower classes. Her father is a circus artist, and so he takes her into her household and wants to train her in this new school of thought, but she is very much struggling with that. But yeah, there's a lot more involved, of course, so like I'm just getting at the basic thematic of the story, but I definitely liked this a lot. I very much liked a lot of the characters in this one because it feels like they're a little bit more nuanced or a little bit more changeable than a lot of Dickens's characters are. And I would definitely say, you know, try it out. I definitely think it's a great Dickens. But so I also have another book that I started because I was then cooking and my Hard Times audiobook was done. I don't always listen to audiobooks when I cook. It's mainly when I do a little bit more of elaborate cooking, because a lot of times I prefer like very fast recipes where you just have to put everything in an oven dish and then put it in the oven. But this one was one that needed a little bit more time and attention, so I wanted to combine it with an audiobook. And so I've started the reread for The Two Towers. So I am following along to Tolkien Along, which is hosted by Beth from Book's Nest and Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction. So in the month of November we are tackling the second part of this big, massive novel, though I have this edition with me now that is split in 3 books, The Two Towers. So in this one we're picking up from book 1. But in terms of the movie, we're actually like slightly off. There's really not that much of a difference, but there's one major event that already happens in the first movie that takes place within the second book. And there's also certain revelations and stuff like that that will take place in the second book that we're already seeing throughout the first movie. And I've definitely been finding that very intriguing to kind of go through the books and see like what shifts have happened towards the movies, because there are definitely also like a lot of quotes that shift around or that are like set to different characters, or that, you know, different characters are saying quotes that belong to other characters within this. So it's kind of interesting to look at it from that perspective. And in any case, as I've been having with the Fellowship so far, I've definitely been enjoying my reread for The Two Towers. I will say that there is a song in here, and it just took forever because it had like, first it was Aragorn who was singing, and then immediately it was like, and afterwards Legolas started singing, and then you have him singing when you were just like, okay, come on, let's end this song now. And it's like, okay, song is ended. It's like, and then Aragorn was singing again. So you're like 3 song pieces right after each other, while I was just constantly hoping for it to be over. I'm still not a lover of the songs, I can tolerate them. But yeah, in terms of Oathbringer, which is what I'm actually supposed to be reading this weekend, so I am over the halfway mark. I am 728 pages into it at this point. So on Wednesday evening I wanted to be at the 700 page mark, meaning before I start this reading vlog I wanted to be at the 700 page mark. So I'm definitely way behind of where I want to be. I do definitely still want to read some tonight. Am I going to be able to get to the 800 page mark? I don't know. At this point I just want to make sure that I don't burn out. I've definitely been finding myself not really being able to spend all my time and energy on it. You know, the first few days I really was like reading all during my entire spare time, and I've definitely been feeling like I cannot keep up that pace, clearly. So now I cannot get to like the 100 pages a day within this book, so I definitely need to slow down my pace. But the problem is that I also don't want to wait too long, so I still have 500 pages to go at this point, and we still have 3 days until the publication of Rhythm of War. Now I don't expect it to be here on that day, so that's a good thing, I guess. I expect to have it on the 20th, so I have 3 extra days. So yeah, I'm gonna have to kind of hurry this thing along. So yeah, wish me luck. I'm hoping that I can still kind of get through it a little bit quicker. I mean, I'm hoping for it to pick up at some point as well, because normally Brandon Sanderson's books always have a big like showdown or a big epic event at the end. I can totally not remember that for this one. I know something that happens, but I don't know whether it's like the final epic thing. So yeah. Hey everyone, so it is Tuesday evening and I am still on Oathbringer. I am close to the 1000 page mark at this point, and I am also anxiously awaiting a Rhythm of War. So my UK hardcover shipped yesterday, but it seems to have not moved in 24 hours. I'm gonna be positive still and hope that I'm gonna get it before the weekend. But I've also learned that I once again have bad luck with what the edition that I decided to go with, because I originally had the mass market paperbacks, the US version, but those take forever to come out. And so I switched over to the US paperback, but apparently the US paperback also doesn't come out on release dates. So like my order for the US paperback went from pre-order like the day before the 17th, and on the 17th it all of a sudden just said unavailable. I'm still hoping against hope, I guess, that will still come, because I actually prefer reading in paperback. But so yeah, I've learned that it'll be a hard time for me every single time that a Stormlight Archive book is coming out. So now I'm actually waiting for a online event with Brandon Sanderson through Waterstone, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And that's kind of one of the positives of like Corona, you know. Other years I wouldn't have been able to join these types of events because they would have been in person in the UK and I just wouldn't have been able to join because I would have had to travel there. And so like, why am I so green now all of a sudden? But so yeah, now through the wonders of technology, I can join these types of events. But so yeah, I'm just waiting for that to start, and I'm just like trying to finish one more chapter at this point. I'm still not really at the pace that I would need to be in. So I guess it isn't a bad thing that Rhythm of War isn't here yet, but I would just prefer to just actually have it here and know that I can dive straight into it after I finish this reread. It is Friday morning and I'm close to finishing my reread for Oathbringer, so I am about 70 pages away from finishing this guy, and I gotta say, I didn't remember a whole lot. You know, everything I remembered took place earlier everything I remember took place earlier within this book, and so the whole like ending big like big action sequence. I didn't remember anything about this. I'm remembering as I'm reading it now. You know, as certain elements are introduced, I'm like, oh yeah, right, and then that's going to happen with that. But actively, I really didn't remember too much about that. But so my book has made it into Belgium at the moment, so I'm very hopeful that it will go into delivery later today and that I will have my hands on it and can switch over to that one, which is going to be the reason why I will be closing out the vlog soon. Normally I close my vlogs on Wednesday, but I've decided that I'm going to be closing it out when I finish Oathbringer, and then I'm going to be jumping into a new vlog for Rhythm of War. It might be, it probably is very ambitious of me to think that I'm going to finish Rhythm of War in time for my next vlog upload. But we'll see. I do have a week off, so I do have more time. Guess who just finished Oathbringer? So I finished my reread. I will still say that it is my least favorite of the Stormlight archive so far. And I think that that has to do kind of with like pacing and my motivation going through it, because there's a whole lot that I forgot, first of all, but also just there was nothing like driving me through this read, you know? And I know that I had that, oops. And I know that I had that experience as well the first time that I read it, where, you know, I felt like there were these draining parts to it, and upon reread, there's definitely a big chunk of the book where I was kind of like going through it, just trusting Brandon Sanderson. And I've seen some examples of people who have that experience with Way of King, with the beginning of Way of King, the Way of Kings, because it's kind of a slow build. But with Way of Kings, I always, from the very beginning, knew that something was coming. I always felt like it was driving towards a certain point, and so I was always like eager to dive back into it just to hopefully get to that point. With Oathbringer, I didn't really necessarily have any of that. And while I absolutely appreciate the final war sequence that I totally forgotten about, but I think is done masterfully, I do think that it rounds off too perfectly afterwards, you know. It feels a little bit too much like he's rounding off a story rather than leaving it maybe open for the next book to dive into some of these things. You know, I think with Words of Radius, for example, I think we really end on the action, and then we pick up at the beginning of Oathbringer to kind of get the story going again and kind of deal with the aftermath of the action. Whereas with this one, we really kind of rounding off. We really have like the action, and then we have like, I don't know, 50 pages or so of going through the aftermath and setting up for potential new storylines. But I don't like that in any case when a book does that. For example, I definitely don't like it when it does that at the end of a series. So that's like, I can forgive him for it because I know that he's apparently going to do a time jump into the fourth book. But I do think that that's pacing wise didn't really work for me. That I was kind of really like waiting for him to round off the story at the end there. I was kind of just being like, okay, like you've led us to this big high point in the story, and now I'm just really like struggling to remain interested in the small stuff. But so yeah, I am now going to close off this vlog, and I'm now going to wait for Rhythm of War. It should arrive today. I've had an email that says that it will be out for delivery today. It is already in Belgium at this point, and so I'm just waiting for it. Please come quickly. But in any case, that gives me time to kind of work on this vlog that needs to go up tonight, so maybe it's better it isn't here yet. It means that I can actually get some work done still.